Hey everyone, it's First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich. It's Friday, we're getting ready for the weekend, and we're getting ready for our winter storm. So what has changed overnight? Not a whole lot, but there are a couple things I'm keeping a very close eye on that could greatly influence the type of precipitation and who sees what. I would love to say there's some drastic changes, but there's subtle things that are starting to come into focus now, and there will be even smaller changes over the next 24 hours that could have significant impacts, especially in the transition zones, which we'll talk more about here as we get into it. So here's the big picture. Here's our storm system. You can actually see it taking shape across Texas. I've got the fronts on here, and I've also got the watches and advisories in effect. I'm going to put the temperatures on real quickly because one of the things I'm watching today is this really cold air. You see the center of the high pressure. I'm going to put what's called the isobars on, which help me kind of show you where the high pressure is. You can see our Arctic high is over the Midwest, and notice the cold air moving in behind this cold front, which is now passing through the Carolinas right now. This is really cold air, which is going to wedge itself down the eastern face of the slopes. Look at that. It's in the teens and single digits. This is really cold air, but it's also incredibly dry. Dew points up here, single digits and teens as well. Now, dew points are crucial because what happens is if air temperatures are above freezing, but dew points are really bone dry, when the first precipitation, which you can see some of it trying to develop to our southwest here, as this moves in and falls into this dry air tomorrow, some of it's going to evaporate. We call that virga. You see it fall from the cloud, but it never makes it down to the ground. That evaporative cooling will actually cause the temperature to drop below freezing or very close to freezing. So that process will be ongoing during the day tomorrow. So there's a good chance we could see some rain at some point tomorrow, but that rain will cause the temperature to fall. Now, what I'm watching and what's curious to me is how does this system develop today across Texas? Because it looked like we were going to have more winter weather up in this area, and that threat there is diminished a little bit. So I'll be curious to see if that has any impact long range. As this system pushes to the east, though, it's going to pick up a lot more moisture. So later today, if we start seeing a ton of moisture develop down here, we know it's coming in. One of the things that happens with these Gulf Coast storms sometimes is that they get big thunderstorms down here on the Gulf Coast, and that will block the moisture flow. Now, it doesn't stop the system from developing in our region. It just would reduce the amount of moisture. So you could see totals go down because of the convection or thunderstorms blocking it. So that's something more of a nowcasting thing. You just got to watch in real time. So let me turn off the radar here and go in and show you the updated watches and warning. So everything in the light blue, that is a winter storm watch. So Lancaster County, Chester County, parts of the upstate were added. It's not because the storm has shifted south. Someone asked me that, and it was a good question. It's because those areas there was a little bit less confidence in the forecast, and at long ranges they don't like to issue watches until they get 50% confident something's going to happen. So especially the northern parts of these counties, like the panhandle of Lancaster County, northern York County, the threat is there enough that we could see some winter weather. And we saw an upgrade to a winter storm warning from Asheville to Boone, to Morganton, up to Blowing Rock. So these areas are the most likely going to see some winter weather out of the system. Let me go to this map, and I'm going to turn off the current conditions, and we're going to start looking at some model data. So you can see the radar starting to really fill in here across the middle of the country. So this is our short range guidance. It's nice that we're getting close enough that we can use some of our higher resolution modeling, which helps kind of show you what's going to happen here. So I'm going to put this into motion. You can see we'll go through the afternoon hours. Look at all that moisture developing across Texas. There's so much moisture there. In fact, there's actually flood watches up for parts of Texas in this area. So that should tell you the amount of moisture coming in. But notice not a lot of wintry weather on the north side, which a lot of folks in Oklahoma were thinking they would get more snow and ice out of this. They still might, especially with the upper level system back here in the panhandle. But this first batch is really just going to be mostly rain. We'll go through tomorrow morning. I'm going to stop this at 7 a.m. on Saturday morning. And 7 a.m., now it looks like there's moisture moving into the Carolinas. A lot of this is going to be that virga. So I would suspect this whole leading edge here probably not going to reach the ground. That'll be evaporative cooling the air, but that's the problem. It's going to cause things to cool. But we will start to see early in the day around Asheville South. This area most likely is going to start to see some snow and ice. Now this is at 7 a.m. Saturday morning. Let's go to about midday. So we'll stop this at noon. We start to see the snow fill in the mountains and foothills. And again, this is the area that's most likely going to see. Again, this might be struggling to reach the ground. Could we see some drizzle maybe some sleet, possibly. When you look at the radar returns, I really think where you see the heavier bands back here, this is most likely the sleet and rain that's reaching the surface. So this is at basically noon Saturday. Let's go to about 5 o'clock. Then this is when we start to see things maybe start to reach the ground. Probably some sleet and rain mixing in here. So this is a little quicker than we anticipated yesterday. So it's really, I would really say during the daylight hours, temperatures are likely going to be above freezing. So the roads will be fine. Even if it's snowing or sleeting, it's just going to be wet. After sunset Saturday, things are going to go downhill pretty quickly. And as we go into the overnight hours, I'll stop this at 7 p.m. This is when I think we'll start to really see things start to ramp up. We'll go towards the overnight hours. And notice how in Charlotte, we've got this mix going on here. This is likely going to be a combination of snow, sleet, and rain. This is all snow and sleet up here. Maybe some freezing rain in there, but primarily snow or sleet. We'll go towards the early morning hours. Notice in Charlotte, it starts to try to transition back to snow. This is 2 o'clock in the morning. The orange, by the way, is sleet. The red is ice. So we're starting to see some sleet mix in, but you can see the transition zone. I mean, that has not changed. The area around Charlotte is the one area where you got to understand it's going to change. It's going to mix from snow to sleet to ice to rain, maybe back to sleet and ice and snow again. And really, I think sleet is our number one concern. If you had to tell me what is the predominant type of precipitation that will fall in Charlotte, I would tell you it's going to be sleet and probably freezing rain with some snow mixed in. So we'll stop this at 7 a.m. on Sunday morning. Look what happens. This is when things really get nasty around here. So this is Sunday morning. This is all snow here. This is a big old sleet storm. Look at all that orange. That is a lot of sleet. And this will be accumulating sleet, maybe a couple inches. And sleet on roads accumulates and causes much bigger issues than snow. We go through the afternoon hours, mostly sleet, freezing rain, sleet, maybe drizzle. Starts to transition to maybe some freezing rain as we go into Sunday evening. A lot of freezing rain and drizzle there. And there's going to be a lull at some point Sunday night. I mean, it doesn't stop completely, but you could see this is going into, Sunday night. Notice we've got a lot of snow and freezing drizzle, but there's a little bit of a lull, especially to the south. The upper level system is still back here to the west over eastern Tennessee. That's going to move in, and I have to stop this because this is as far as out as my guidance goes. This is going to be Monday snow back in this area. So this will be Monday snow. Here's the lull right here. And then this was all the snow and ice and rain on Sunday. So there's kind of three parts to this. Big event on Sunday, lull Sunday night, and then the snow Monday, which will come through and produce maybe our best chance of snow in the Charlotte area because that's an upper level system, has much colder air to work with. One of the things I look at very carefully are those atmospheric soundings. Now this is kind of science geeky, but I like telling people a little bit about what I look at. A lot of times you just see those maps of snowfall, and I don't like those because it doesn't tell you the complete picture of what's going on above our head. So I look at sounding. So this is the ground, and this is 5,000, 10,000, 15, 20,000, 25,000 feet, 30,000 feet. The red line is the temperature. The green line is the dew point. Now you see this dashed blue line? That's the 0 Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit. You've got the -10 and the -20 here as well. So it kind of shows you how cold it gets. So you can see this is Saturday. I'm going to move this over. 4 o'clock in the morning. There's some rain mixing in there. But notice the sounding. If you look carefully, it's below freezing, below freezing, below freezing until about 4,000 feet. Then it goes above freezing. So this could be sleet or snow, honestly, because that would not give it enough time to melt to rain on the way down. As we go through time, that's a very sleet looking sounding. I know it says rain, but trust me, because it's hugging that line and it's only above freezing really near the ground, that's a very sleet looking sounding overall. And it gets a little bit colder aloft. Now where things get a little concerning is Sunday morning. Let me go to Sunday morning, 7 a.m. The temperature really gets colder here. And one of the things you notice is the air right above the surface here drops below freezing by quite a bit. This is only a couple thousand feet above the ground. We're hugging the freezing line here, so we might partially melt a snowflake. It falls down into this cold layer and refreezes. That's why this to me screams sleet, because you're taking a snowflake, the snowflake's forming up in here, it's falling, it's getting a little warm, so it's getting wet and maybe melting the edge. It doesn't look like that beautiful dendrite that you typically see in pictures. and then it falls into another layer where it gets really cold, so it refreezes. You get kind of an ugly looking snowflake or a piece of sleet, and I think that's primarily what you're going to see. Then it could transition to freezing rain because the temperature up here actually goes above freezing a little bit, but down at the ground it stays below freezing. So you can see how messy this setup is for the Charlotte area. This is a real big mess. So my snowfall forecast overall hasn't changed much. I still have 2 to 4 inches, but I can't go crazy with the totals here. And you saw these crazy totals people were putting out yesterday, and we were very reserved with it because we know there's mixing. You watch those totals you saw yesterday, they're going to vanish. People are going to be like, oh, what happened to that foot of snow? That was never going to happen. I don't know why that got out there so much when we knew there was going to be mixing. The totals will be much less here as far as snow, but sleet and ice potential is actually much higher. You can see the ice potential here. And this to me is the one thing that I worry about more than anything in our area here is significant sleet and ice, which could cause significant problems. One of the other parameters I like looking at is we could look at the ensembles, all the models together, what type of precipitation is going to fall. So just don't have to read this too carefully, but what you're looking at is where is rain, snow, ice, and sleet going to fall in the timeline. So this is tomorrow into Sunday and Monday morning. And you could see at times rain, snow, ice, and sleet, especially in this Sunday time frame. You've got all 3 of those falling basically at the same time. And at the end, the rain chances go down and the snow comes up. So really complicated setup overall, still in store for tomorrow. The thing to remember is don't get caught up in the snow totals. Don't look at the totals as like, are we going to get this much? All of this mess is enough to cause major travel issues. In some cases around Charlotte, the little bit of snow with ice on top and then maybe back to snow is worse than all snow. Mountains and foothills overall, I don't have much change to my forecast. I'll show you real quickly again. I'm thinking if those thunderstorms form, we could bring these totals down a little bit. I still think 10 to 12 inches is a good possibility there. These totals would be reduced a little bit as well if there's less moisture, but mainly the reduction there is because there's more mixing going on. So I will be updating this later today. I'm going to have a new map coming up at 4 o'clock, and I'll have another one at 11. So that's kind of the time frame I've been updating these. And then we'll do one more update Saturday before the storm to give you the last call on what we think is going to happen. And again, these are going to be subtle changes as the system develops. Remember, it's still way off to the southwest. I'll widen this out and turn the radar back on. Our system is just starting to organize here across Texas today, and seeing it organized today will be key to what happens for us. So a long vlog this morning, but obviously there's a lot going on and a lot to talk about. Have a great Friday, everybody.